Hey, read the description for a really in-depth guide about melees. I was too lazy to actually do anything else besides give you some builds, but have fun. Alright, starting off, there will be dim links for each of these builds for one for every subclass. Now, we're starting off with Strand, but I will put a disclaimer here. Strand is my least used subclass, so there will be this build probably won't be as good as the others. It just depends on your personal playstyle, and my personal playstyle just doesn't use Synthos or Banner of War. But that's what we're using in today's build, Synthos and Banner of War. The reason being, Banner of War provides a ton of healing, and then Synthos makes it much easier to proc Banner of War. We're also using some fragments along with a shackle grenade that makes it so anytime we suspended enemies and then kill them, we get an orb of power that then grants woven mail for 5 seconds, giving us around a 15% damage reduction to all incoming damage. Now, we're using Winter Bite because glaives are essentially primary ammo stabby sticks, and with Winter Bite, you're dealing about 20,000 damage per melee, or 30,000, a 50% damage buff, if you have just ammo loaded into the magazine of the glaive, which is buffed by about 100% again if you have Synthos, and then is buffed about 25 when Banner of War is on. And keep in mind, all of these buffs stack multiplicatively. And then really quickly, there are not a lot of armor mods that I'm going to do for this. How I'm going to do armor mods is I'm going to give you mandatory armor mods that you have to pick for this build to work, and then you let you tinker with them yourself. Also, ignore artifact mods. You can do those yourself. You're smart. Impact induction. Reason being, you're going to suspending is half of this build, and you're going to need to use your grenades a lot. So every time, and since you have since we are using Flechette Storm, you get more melees per melee, so Impact Induction is going to do a lot of heavy lifting for recharging your grenade ability. Then we have Lucent Blades, so that you can keep the 99% damage resist that glaives provide when guarding up longer, because you just shoot it. Winter Bite shoots out the ice ball, and the ice ball hits multiple targets, and each target that it hits provides more glaive energy. And then Stasis Reserves, just because Winter Bite does not have a lot of ammo. And then finally, Orbs of Restoration. The reason why I'm not using Intervention or Absolution is because even though Intervention provides a lot, around, I think it's 5% grenade energy per orb of power collected, Absolution provides about 3% ability energy to all of your uncharged abilities when you collect an orb of power. But Orbs of Restoration provides the same amount, 5%, as these three, but to whichever one's the lowest charge. And considering how fast you can run out of melee energy when you're running Strand, we're going to be running Orbs of Restoration just because, again, we're trying to use a gameplay loop of stab dudes, suspend the bigger dudes, and then stab them. And then that is the Strand build. Also, one last thing, use whatever weapons you want in your primary and special. I would recommend things long range, because you're going to be right in the middle of fighting, and if you encounter any long range enemies, and you don't have any long range weapons, you're going to struggle. Alright, Stasis mains. I'm gonna be completely honest, I can't figure out a single exotic that uses just punching that works with stasis as well. So I'm going to give you the stasis build that I personally like to use. So we are using Icefall Mantles with Diamond Lance and Tectonic Harvest. Essentially, this build uses Heart of Inmost Light without using Heart of Inmost Light. Every single one of your abilities is going to be up when you need them. Also, yes, you will have to play Gambit, but I highly recommend getting a Herod C with Headstone, because with the origin trait of Hawkeye Breach armaments and Headstone, And, if I can find it, Whisper of Rending. With a single bullet, you can break a stasis crystal. And for any of you that have ever played stasis, I guarantee probably your biggest complaint is that stasis crystals are too hard to shatter normally. And with this, it's literally one bullet, you break the crystal. Simple. Salvation's Grip for even more stasis shards so you can become invincible. Now to the mods. Obviously, you're going to want Stasis Orbs of Power, you're going to want Heavy Ammo Finder. The reason why I'm doing 2 bolstering detonations is because you're going to use your grenade. The Glacial Grenade is going to be essentially the cornerstone of this build. Without your grenade, this build is not going to work as it should. Because you use your grenade, break the crystals, and get the stasis shards. The stasis shards refund all of your abilities, your class ability, your grenade again, and your melee. I believe I have. Okay, so that is the reason why I'm not running there's an aspect in here that makes it so every time you take damage. Yes, so the reason I'm not using Whisper of Torment is because your armor mods are going to cover for your grenade recharge, and you also have Salvation's Grip to get stasis shards, along with Headstone if necessary. And then the reason why we have a whole bunch of armor resists here is just to show you that you don't really need anything else. Yeah, you could throw on harmonic reserves, but you could throw on just a reserve mod, but I promise you won't need them. And it's honestly just better to throw on 3 damage resist, elemental damage resist mods, so you can have a 35% damage resist on top of the 50% damage resist that you get with Icefall Mantles and Whisper of Rhyme. Moving on to your pants, you obviously have a Stasis Surge, because you can... obviously you have a Stasis Surge, so you can do more Stasis damage, and then Orbs of Restoration, that's on here for the same reason as I said in the Strand section, and then Recuperation just for health. Time Dilation because you have a Surge mod, and then Powerful Finish, just you can get more armor mods to keep that stasis damage up constantly. And this would, and 2 final things about the stats. This Discipline would be a 100 if I wasn't broke and had an exotic cipher. And yes, that is in fact a Titan that has a 2 in strength. That is because we are using Whisper of Hunger. And every time you grab a stasis shards, you get like 17% more. You get 17% more melee energy per stasis shard. A single glacial grenade is going to be enough to refill your melee. So the entire melee cooldown is essentially invalidated because of how fast you're throwing your grenade back down, as well as how fast you're generating stasis crystals. And yeah, again, I know that had nothing to do with a melee ability, but, yeah, best I could come up with. Alright, now for Solar. This one is basically you are now the support of your team. You are going to be doing all of the healing and all of the damage assisting. We are going to be using Phoenix Cradle with Sol Invictus, along with a bunch of Scorch mods. The reason being, every time you defeat a scorched enemy or just bonk them with a hammer, you create a sunspot. And sunspots with Phoenix Cradle provide Sol Invictus, which basically makes it so your roaming supers like the Stasis Titan Super, Fists of Havoc, the Strand Titan Super, all of those last around 1.5 times longer than they would without Sol Invictus. And then, obviously, Restoration, which is a nice healing buff. You can use any solar heavy ammo that you want, but it is pretty important that you use these two weapons. The reason why you want to use the shotgun is because it's a mini Fourth Horseman. With Cascade Point and auto-loading holster, you don't... Anytime there's an orange bar enemy that is causing you problems, pull this out after getting a whole bunch of crits or a kill with Heliocentric, and then just make sure the orange bar doesn't exist anymore. And you're also going to want... It doesn't have to be heliocentric, but I like it because I just call it the stem pistol. But you are required to have a heal clip and incandescent roll on it, just for you staying alive longer and your ally staying alive longer, and also creating more sunspots. Now on to the armor mods. Obviously, the classic thing, the classic armor mods on top. Harmonic loader for solar, that's just to make it so heal clip can proc even faster, because trust me, in high-end content, you're going to want that constant healing. You're also going to be running a healing grenade, because this is a melee build, and you're going to be using your hammer to deal damage way more than your grenade, so healing grenade for your allies that can't seem to stay out of danger. Fastball so it can reach them easier, and then heavy-handed for more orbs of power. I like to use charged up just so you can keep your solar weapon surge up constantly. Harmonic reserves, again, for solar. That's just so your heavy has more ammo and all that. And then I threw a damage resist in here. You can do whatever you want. You can throw another reserve in here if need be. Again, my standard preferred is recuperation plus orbs of restoration. Just a nice, well-rounded build. Just a nice, well-rounded thing for every time you get an orb of power, you heal, and then you also recharge some of your abilities. And then just time dilation because you have surge. I know this is weaker on the punch things in the face side of this video, but it is better than stasis. And personally, this build, there's not a lot of things that I could also come up with for Solar Titan for melee builds, but it is what I could do. Also, sorry to anyone who does not have this Guardian Games shader. I know I made this video during Guardian Games, but it was also during the last week of Guardian Games. So, I have a real life job, and I have a real life. I can't dedicate as much time as I would like to YouTube. Alright, Void Titans. This is where the fun begins. As you saw in the little armor clip about Peregrine Greaves, this is a lot of damage, a lot of fast, and a lot of problems for all of your enemies. We are going to be using Peregrine Greaves along with Offensive Bulwark and Bastion, along with a repulsor brace destabilizing rounds weapon. It doesn't have to be a submachine gun, it just has to be repulsor brace and destabilizing rounds. I'll get back to why this is here in a moment. But, as the Google Doc states, Offensive Bulwark, double damage melees. Stacks with Peregrine Greaves, 1000% damage buff to any shoulder charge melee, makes it a 2,200% damage buff for any of your charge melee or shoulder charge melees when you have an overshield. Repulsor brace and destabilizing rounds, make a target volatile, kill the volatile enemy, get overshield. Now, Heart Shadow. Yes, it's a dungeon exotic. Yes, you have to run duality, but it is again, the cornerstone of this build. The reason being, when you're not even going to use the sword for damage, you're literally using the sword for utility. Every time you swing it, you do a heavy attack, you're going to go invisible for 9 seconds. Using that 9 seconds of invisibility, and make sure you have your overshield applied beforehand, because otherwise, when you use your barricade, you're going to become uninvisible, and you would have just wasted 3 heavy ammo. So get an overshield, go invisible, find the biggest, beefiest target, and obliterate. For example, this build does, when me and my friend, I can't show it here because I wasn't recording, because I was lazy, but me and a friend were running Master Duality, because we wanted to get the triumph. So I decided to use this build in the first encounter against the Shade of Galram. I was dealing half health to the Master Mode Unstoppable Champions, who were not stunned, by the way. If you stun an Unstoppable Champion, you can one-shot them with this. But again, this build lets you deal half of an Unstoppable Master Mode Unstoppable Champion's health in a single hit. Now, you do have to play more conservatively with this build because, again, in anything like Master content or Master Dungeons or Grandmaster Nightfalls, everything is going to eat you up. That's just how they work. But invisibility is going to help with that, and overshields are going to help with that. Now, on to the armor mods. Heavy ammo finders and void orbs of power. That's completely normal. Firepower. Oh, that's another thing. Peregrine Greaves restores your melee instantaneously if you just deal damage to a Tormentor, a Champion, or a mini-boss. If you don't get that, you need to have... also, it is required to have 100 strength in this build because that makes it so you can... If you whiff your melee somehow, you have 45 seconds until you get another melee. Or you can use Vortex Grenade with Echo of Provision, and I believe... yeah, so Vortex Grenade with Echo of Undermining, and this makes it so that every single tick of damage you deal refunds about 1% of your... roughly 1% of your melee ability back per single tick of damage that your grenade deals. So you're going to want to use Vortex Grenade, throw that into a crowd of beefy enemies, basically get your melee almost instantly back, and then weaken for 15% more damage against whatever target you're trying to send back to God same-day shipping, or same-minute shipping in this instance. Anyways, back to armor mods. Firepower and fastball for more grenade problems. Reload speed, you can shove whatever you want here. I just use it because I don't have good reload on this particular SMG. This one, more void reserves, because believe me, you want all the reserves you can get with Heart Shadow, because especially if you're not familiar with this build, you're going to be going invisible and then accidentally going out of invisible. And let's see, recuperation, void weapon surge, that's just so you can more easily get destabilizing rounds and repulsor brace up. And then just the absolute stock standard things that you throw on your class item when you have any mods that make it so that you're... What am I saying? Basically, just throw these same mods are going to be essentially on here for the rest of time with the next two builds that I'm going to show you. I use Tenacious Mastery because it's, chill clip, it's just helpful. If you don't want to use Tenacious Mastery, I would definitely recommend getting some weapon with a pugilist role so that you can just recharge. Probably, honestly, a sniper would help a lot. Because sniper or maybe a pulse rifle, because that way you could just hit from a distance and get your melee back and then go invisible and then get that champion that's been bothering you and your entire team. Alright, pièce de resistance time. This is the build that I have used to solo both Warlord's Ruin. I've used it to solo Spire of the Watcher. I've used it to solo Duality. This build is extremely unkillable. Literally, all you have to do with Skullfort and Knockout is just get a single melee kill off on one dude, and you are back to full HP. Now, okay, this isn't exactly the build that I use to solo all Duality and Warlords, because this aspect was not out yet, but now it is, and I soloed it with I soloed Spire of the Watcher with it. Obviously, Thunderlord is here. He's just a chill guy, here to cause a lot of pain to a lot of people, a lot of fast. Now, the reason why I'm using Skullfort instead of T-Crash, Skullfort gives you so much survivability, it is insane. Like I said like 2 seconds ago, knockout in Skullfort, a single melee kill, you're back to full health, and you're probably going to stay there for another 3 seconds. And for all of us who have done a plank, or for all of us that are waiting for a melee to recharge, 3 seconds is a long, long time. I'm also using an Indebted Kindness with Lead from Gold and Volt Shot, just because Lead from Gold, you basically have infinite ammo, and then Volt Shot, you're causing a lot of ad clear, which, you know, you're already doing with Thunderclap. I'm also running Spark of Resistance, so you get 50% damage resistance on top of the 50% damage resistance that Amplified provides. Spark of Feedback is incredibly good because when someone slaps you, you slap back with 75% more damage on top of the 50% more damage you get if you just kill the dude. So your Thunderclaps are doing a lot of damage. And remember, you're tapping the Thunderclap, not winding up for a full blast. The only time you want to wind up for a full blast is if you're facing a, let's say a Hive Knight with a Solar Shield. That's the only time you want to wind up, because you're probably going to be able to kill them, and if you don't, remember, Skullfort just got an update where just punching dudes gives you melee energy, about 5% per punch. Now, on to armor mods. Hands-on, because you're going to be dealing a lot of melee damage, you're going to want a lot of... Hands-on provides about, I think it's 3% super energy per melee kill. But it does have an internal cooldown of like not half a second. I think it's a full internal cooldown of 1 second before it procs. Heavy-handed, because you're going to be dealing a lot of melee damage. Again, this is the pinnacle melee build, so everything here is going to be based on melee. You got impact induction for more grenades, further throwing grenades, arc reserves, because who doesn't want more Thunderlord ammo, and then two elemental resists that you can just throw on at any time. If you're fighting the stupid Meatball and Warlords, remember to throw in 2 void resists, because that dude hurts a lot for no reason at all. Arc Weapon Surge for more problems, and then my favorite two armor mods, Recuperation and Restoration. And hey, who could have guessed? It's Time Dilation, Proximity Ward, and Healthy Finisher again. Now, keep in mind, the entire point of this video is not telling you how to... It might be coming across like that because I'm new to this whole making a guide video thing, but the whole point of this guide video is to give you ideas for your own builds. I'm not here to give you the best ever. I'm here to give you the base foundations of what every single armor piece and every single facet of what melee damage does, so that you can then use your own brain and then build your own build, I guess. And that way you don't have to rely on other people. And trust me, when you make your own build, when you make your own custom build, like I did here, it is so satisfying when it works. All right, that's about it. Let me know what you guys think of the guide video, and put your own builds in the comments if you're if you want. Light Blue Craion's the best. Peace. Super fast bonus prismatic build for any of you that want it. I literally slapped this together while editing this video and then tested it in some high-end content, and it's worked pretty surprisingly well. Not sure how that happened, but hey, here we are.